So I have just completed the hardest challenge you will ever have to do in Raid Shadow Legends. Very proud of myself. It's a great achievement. It is one of the things I've been working super hard for today, and it is a massive achievement. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have managed to log into the game. Amazing. It's really difficult. This challenge is the most challenging challenge I've ever tried to challenge myself with. I'm so challenged by this that I feel inspired to I can't anymore. Welcome, guys. We're going to talk about the new Champion Pass. We're also going to break down the Hero Pass that has come up, which also is a little bit of a meme, in my opinion. I don't know where to start. Let's start with the Champion Pass here. There's obviously a question of price. That is probably what everyone is like, Steam is coming out of their ears about. I get it. It's expensive. It's $40. We'll talk about the price in a second. What really bugs me is the literal terrible amounts of effort that they have gone to make this even remotely interesting whatsoever. So you've got a new Champion Pass, right? And they've been hyping this up as this is the new patch update. This is what's in the patch. This is a big feature. So we can see from their news announcement here that they've talked about, they're getting really excited about this. To mark the occasion, we're adding a new special champion to the roster, Xena. We'll talk about her. I will probably do a specific video on Xena talking about her because I think there's some nuances to her kit. I do think there's some arena viability, but also I think there's some concerns with it, so I'll probably do a dedicated video on that, but we might just touch on whether the pass is worth it, because that's what we're talking about in this video. But you can see here we said, in essence, this will work exactly like the Forge Pass events. It kind of does. It will begin on November the 10th, which is today, and last until February the 4th, so it's going to be a 3-month pass. So part of me, when I saw the Champion Pass in the video that I did a couple of days ago, where I was talking about what's in the sort of the static data, I was like, oh, this is cool. There's a new Champion Pass. This would be really good if they do monthly Champion Passes so we can get access to some of the pre-existing champions in the game. That would be really good. And then when I've actually seen it, what I've actually realized is they've taken your Sun Wukong, or they've taken your Ultimate Death Knight event, or they've taken like the Ronda event, and instead of just making you log in 7 days and you get a free champion, they're now putting a price tag on it. Because it's essentially what they have done. There's nothing new or innovative about this so far. It is literally taking that daily login event that they were giving you a free champion and now putting a price tag on it and making you pay for that privilege instead. Now, it could be just because this is like the first, I would say, IP sponsorship they've done. Like, they've done individual sponsorships in terms of like Ninja and Simple, and they've done like Ronda. Those are individual contracts, obviously would involve their agents and stuff. This is actually working with like a film studio and a TV studio, buying into an IP. So I guess it's cost them a lot more money, so we have to pass that cost on to us as the player. But anyway, let's put that to one side. Essentially, it's a 3-month pass and you complete it. So they're talking about like they'll be unlocking new rewards. Keep in mind you require an elite pass to get the champion at the end and get greater rewards in the process, while those the basic pass will receive a sacred shard instead. It was a bit of a confusing wording about instead. All they basically means is if you only get the free pass, you get a sacred shard, you don't get the champion. And it's like, but for this integration, there's also another way. When the Champion Pass is live, we'll launch weekly summon boost events. And it's just like they're making this such a big thing. There's a champion spotlight. And then when we actually look at what they've delivered, it is like the most pointless. It's the most low effort I've ever seen as an update. Like literally our challenges each day, unless these are going to change, and I don't think they are because I've looked at these in the game static code and these are the only ones that have been surfaced so far. Unless these change, basically my challenge every single day is to log in, upgrade something to level 2 because it will take 50,000 silver off me. I'm being sarcastic, of course, like level 4 is quite cheap, but you know what I mean. 50,000 silver is basically sneeze in the game and you'll do something and use 100 energy. I'll use 100 energy to do my daily activities. There is zero challenge. This isn't a challenge, so why are we calling it challenges? If you just call it like points, that would be better. Like, I'm not asking for war and peace here, but I mean, give me a little bit of make it at least a little bit interesting, right? At least the Forge Pass has some frustrating mechanics here in the weekly challenges. You know, some of these are really annoying, like heal 100 times in campaign battle. You know, some of these are, win boots from campaign battles, at least they're a little bit more interesting. They make me actually think and you engage my brain. This is just stupid. Like, the challenge is to log in. Anyway, that's failure 1 for me. Failure 2 as well is the rewards are just bad. It's not that they're bad, it's just not enough of them. So if we compare it to a Forge pass here, right, and we can basically say get the gold pass, what do we get? Look, so we get 40% XP bonus for the duration of when you get there. It is backfilled a little bit, so that 40% bonus you probably have up for about maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks, but that's still decent. 40% silver and 40% XP. That's really good. You get all of these glyphs, so we're getting 5-star speed glyphs specifically. I want you to remember that. You're getting 2 legendary chaos ore, you're getting forge charms, and you get all of this crafting material. You get 3 million silver and like basically about 200 crafts. Okay, so you get about 200 forging, which can translate into silver if you sell it, a bunch of majesty, loads of forge charms, and then probably a very nice chunk of glyphs. So for the price of like 20 bucks, because nobody really should buy the 25 levels, that's just silly, you're just wasting money at this point. For 20 bucks, I always argue that's a pretty good trade. Because you get a lot of Forge summoning. A lot of the times for a newer player, if you're a mid-game player, I highly recommend Forge Pass if you want to spend a little bit of money, because your biggest challenge in the mid-game is getting 6-star gear, getting a base level of decent, good gear in your account. Normally you'd have to farm thousands of energy in Dragon and thousands of energy in Fire Knight to basically get yourself the core basis of gear to build some champions. This just sort of like decreases the amount of energy and time you have to do that. It gives you a foundational basis, and in the Forge you can actually almost like force it to be a 6-star with a specific substat that you want, right? So you can get a lot more efficiency out of it. So that's why I always recommend, for a good price of 20 bucks a month, this is actually a really good deal because of the amount of gear you get. Now, if we compare that to the champion pass, which is double the price, yes, you get a legendary champion. Let's just put that to one side a second. Yes, you get a legendary champion. We're going to walk away with a rank 5 chicken. Does it tell me what we get here? So we get a rank 5 chicken, 5 potions, which is basically 1 stage 20 run once you roll it. You're going to get 1 speed glyph, which in the other pass you're getting 5. You're going to get 100 energy and 150 gems, because the rest, like, you only get 600,000 silver. The rest of this is really irrelevant. I mean, we do get a nice amount of cruel gear, but that's all on the free pass by the looks of it, right? So it's actually a little bit misleading here, right? This is really poor marketing, because essentially they're saying, oh, well, you're going to get like 6 cruel gear. You're going to get that for free. So you're not buying that. So actually, if we work out what we're buying 1 rank 6 banner, 1 rank 6 amulet, and 1 rank 6 ring, which you're probably going to sell anyway because they're going to roll bad, right? On average, you sell more than you keep. So if you're asking me to say, okay, buy one of these banners, I would never buy a singular banner. If you give me 20, then that's better. We get plarium points. Who cares about that? Because that's basically going to cut off like one day of your 600 years you need to get Searsha. We get 1 glyph, 200,000 silver, 5 superior ancient potions. Like, that's pointless. You know, it's basically like almost the first row of a Dungeon Divers that nobody really cares about, or the first row of a Summon Rush that nobody really cares about because it's just incidental rewards. I don't know, guys. I mean, I could sit here and rant about the pass all I want. You're basically buying a champion because the rest of the rewards are terrible. Now, I will say $40 for a champion is incredibly low cost when you compare it against the cost of other champions in the game, right? So here's a good example to give you. If we were to go for this Trigger right now in Dragon Turn account, my team is pretty fast. It goes at 30 turns at Dragon 10 hard. It is probably, outside of a Kaimar team, the fastest turn count you could probably get in terms of turns. So in this tournament here, it's going to take me around about 2,200 energy, around about 110 runs. That translates into around about 700. It's about 680, but around about 700 gems. So they're basically valuing this rare at around about 700 gems. So on the pack offer calculator on the Hell Hades website, if you haven't checked it out, you can put any pack in there, put it against any currency and see the valuation, see what we rate it as. We basically have gems weighted at around about $0.015 to 1 gem, which means that rare at 700 gems is roughly priced around about 10 bucks. So what they're basically saying here is this rare is basically valued for them at 10 bucks. So guaranteeing yourself a legendary champion at 40 is kind of insane. If you really think about it, 1 sacred shard they value around about 20 bucks. Now we basically value them a lot less because we think that that's very high price. But that's what they sell them at, right? If we have a look in the pack right now, there's an elite sacred pack. There is 3 at $59.99. It's actually the cheapest I've ever seen them. But again, look, it's 3 at $60. They're about 20 bucks each. So that's not a guaranteed chance you're going to get a legendary. So 2 of these sacred shards is basically Xena the Warrior Princess. So I don't know. I mean, from a raid point of view, $40 is actually pretty reasonable for a guaranteed legendary champion. From a player's perspective, I'm buying a champion for $40 and I'm not getting much else for it because I'm going to get this free path anyway. So that's good. I'm going to get all this cruel gear anyway. So that's good. That's fine. All this rewards, like 1 5-star glyph, I could get one on faction 20 daily, potentially. I know it's a bit of a low roll, but I could get one by just doing faction wars. What do I want a clan boss key for? What absolute value does this have? One of the biggest problems in the Minimix pack is the clan boss key is terrible. Anyway, look, I've been talking for 12 minutes about the pass. That's my initial opinion. The pass itself is the most low effort implementation of a new system I've ever seen. The challenges are terrible. They're just pointless. They're just going to get auto-completed, which is nice for some people, but at the same time for me, I wouldn't call them challenges because you're challenging me to do nothing. And the pass then is basically a decision, do you want to buy a champion for $40? The good thing is there's no rush. You can play the game for the next month, and if you want to then buy it, then you can just buy it, right? So as long as you buy it before, I think January the 15th, you're probably okay, or whatever it is. So you got plenty of time to make a decision. You don't have to buy it instantly, which is rare for raid. Normally you have to buy it within the day on your decision. So let's just get into the hero's path now. Let's talk about 2 things that are really, really poor about this. Average cost for a legendary book is significantly higher in this pass than previous passes. Normally when I do these pass breakdowns, I kind of look at it from the top rewards, and then I also look at it from, okay, if you've dabbled and you've got yourself a few points, how much is it to get yourself to like maybe a legendary book, or maybe one of the oils, or maybe the anniversary points or whatnot. So basically a dabble into the hero's path rather than going for the big ticket rewards. And typically the hero paths in the past have positioned a legendary book at around about 20 to 25,000 points. This path, that's almost double. So the cost of a legendary book in this path is incredibly high. We're going to go into the numbers in the spreadsheet in a moment, just to summarize it all. The other thing I want to talk about is they've actually reworked the amount of points you get for summoning quite considerably. In the past, and I don't know if I've influenced this, if I have, I apologize to the community. In the past, I've advocated that void shards are the best shard for hero path events because volume versus points just balanced better on void shards than they did on sacred or ancient shards. Sacred shards are always good for summon rush. Ancient shards are always good for champion chase because you get a lot of your points from getting epics, right? So -- ancients is one of the most efficient ways to do that. They've actually nuked mystery shard points for no reason whatsoever. Like, we never used to get many points from mystery shards at all, and now they've nuked it even further, which is just bizarre to me. They've significantly reduced void shards, but they have increased ancient shards. The bad thing about the void shards is they're doing them during a period where you're going to want to summon void shards if you're going for some very niche, unique champions. Like a lot of people might want to summon for that Acrisia. A lot of people might want to summon for that Baron. Yes, you get good points from Rotus and Gnu, but it just feels like it's a punishment they didn't need to do. So let's get into the path then. It is a fiery singles path. I can confirm from various different peoples, I think Hell Hades has confirmed this as well, you don't need to go down both middle paths. You can basically just go down one and then you can unlock them. The epics are the heroes you need to make Tatsu, and then the legendary is the legendary. But what I will say is if you're going for the legendary, don't summon it straight away. Wait until you get these epics, then fuse the legendary, then fuse Mikage, because you'll get yourself 500 champion chase points, or 10,000 CVC points, or 20,000, I think it is 20,000 CVC points. So there's if you fuse Mikage straight away, you lose out on a free summon, and I wouldn't do that. And you can also keep that duplicate legendary. Same with Tatsu. So keep that in mind. You might want to go for it, but just hold off. Don't jump unless you can actually make the legendaries to begin with, because you will lose out on points. It's just not very efficient. We got basically a legendary book. The points are pretty much the same. The outer line is a little bit cheaper than the inner line, but we're only talking like a couple of 100 points, so it's nothing major. You're basically deciding if you want to go for Kira or the epics. So for me, for example, I've got a Ender Moonbeam, so I don't really need to get that, so I can save myself 15,000 points. I don't have Kira. I do have Endalia, and I have a Lady Quillen, but I would have to break my faction guardians. Quillen I could do, so I could basically go for Endalia, Fergan Isbil, and Kira, and that would get me a significant way to Lady Mikage, but it's very expensive. Let me show you the math. So if you've ever seen me do a hero path event before, you'll have seen a spreadsheet like this. What I normally do is I pull out all the rewards. I had to double count and triple count this because I was getting it messed up in the numbering, but I have double checked it so the numbers are correct. And I normally structure on paths. So in this one, it's quite easy. We've got 4 paths, and then we have a bonus reward, which is Kira the Watcher. So I've mapped it all out so we can see the points. We can see the total event cost is 281,700 points. And then I've mapped out these 4 paths. I always try these 5 paths. I always try to find paths for different options for different people so they can choose what they want to do. So if you want to just get Kira the Watcher, she's going to cost you 100,600 points. If you want to get one of the outer epics, just one of them, is 55,250. If you want to get one of the inner ones, just the epics, is 55,600. If you want to get all 4 epics, it's 181,000. And if you just want a legendary book, it's 40,000. This used to be averaging 20,000. You can see here on the right, I've actually got notes from a previous path event that I copied. You can see the one legendary book, 18,000, 2, 36,000. Basically, they're saying this one legendary book is like double the cost. Now, I know you get some bonus rewards in terms of like oils on the way, but it's not that substantial. This is just a point inflation that didn't need to happen. So let's take it into the summons math. I've pulled out all the different things. As I mentioned, they've changed the point allocations. Let me just get the previous points of what it used to be. So this is what the old point distribution used to be. Sacreds have remained the same. Then voids used to be 1,100. So they've basically taken 400 points, which is about, let's nearly 30-40% of the points away from void. They have nearly doubled ancient shards, so that's gone up to 300. And then they've taken mystery shards down by 66%. But mystery shards used to be quite poor anyway because you'd need to pull a substantial amount. So yes, it's not a significant thing to get upset about, but at the same time, it's almost like, did they really need to nerf something that didn't need to be nerfed, right? That's just basically sticking the knife in and twisting it. They didn't need to do that. So, but the void shards is a lot worse now. That's kind of made it a lot more painful. It used to be that at 1,100 being about 25% less, you could basically get it done better with voids because you would need less quantity than the sacred shards, and it was just a little bit more balanced. You might need 86 voids versus 20 odd sacreds, or like 500 ancients. It always felt like voids were better. So we can see I've mapped out the different paths here. We've got them all here. So if you want to get Kira, we're talking 22 sacred shards or 134 voids. So if we were doing this before in the old points, it would have been 91 voids. It's now 134 voids. That's what I'm saying. It's a massive increase in voids. Ancients is still way too high for an average player. You're not going to pull 335 Ancients just to get Kira the Watcher. You might, but I doubt it. I doubt you even have that many. So that's the thing. Ancients and Heroes Path were always really difficult to do because it was just the volume you needed was so high. If you want to get one of the outer if you want to get one of the outer epics, it's about 12. This is rounded, so keep that in mind. It's rounded points. So for example, all the paths down here is 62.6. We're talking around about 12 sacreds or 74 voids for one of the epics. If you want all the epics, it's 40 sacreds. All of them. That's not including Kira. That is just the epics. I think if you want Kira and the epics, I think Nubray's worked it out. You need 53 sacreds to do it. If you just want a legendary book, you're talking 9 sacreds. And if you want to do that entire event, we're talking 63 sacreds, and we can value that about $20. So what we're basically saying is the whole path costs you $1,252. That's basically what they're saying this path is worth to you, $1,252. So if I wanted to do it, I would need Kira, Endalia, and Isbale. So I would need 2 of the outer lines plus 1 of the inner lines, which is really, really uncomfortable the way that that's allocated for me personally, because I don't need any of the inner lines. So I'd have to get 12 plus 12 plus 22. So I would be looking at 24, 46 sacred shards. It's very, very expensive because I would have to do 2 of these, which would basically be 1 plus 1 plus 1 of those. I'd have to do 211,000 points. So it is, if you're lucky and you had the outer lines, you could basically get it a lot cheaper because you would only need to do 100,000 plus then that bonus 15,000 twice for the 2 epics in the middle. So if you only needed the 2 epics in the middle, you couldn't save yourself 70,000 points. So unlucky me, lucky you if you're in that situation. Now, in terms of dungeons, they haven't adjusted any of the dungeon divers. A quick overview of what we do here. I map out the exact the coins that you get per type of artifact you win. We map it out against the probability of you earning that artifact. Then we can work out how many hero coins on average you're going to get per run, and then do that per energy. And that kind of gives me a breakdown of how efficient it is. So as we can see, stage 20 always ends up being the most efficient stage here, because on average, you're going to get 1.95 points per energy, and you will still get yourself 5-star gear, so you won't get 4-star gear. So it's normally a better breakpoint. When we look at the actual overview here, this is kind of like the analysis. We can see if you want to do Dungeon Divers, if you don't care about summoning, you just want to get Kira the Watcher through Dungeon Divers, well, that's going to cost you 51,000 energy on stage 20. It's going to save you a lot more from stage 10 hard. If you did it stage 10 hard, it would be 7,000 more energy. That roughly translates into, if we divide that in 130, about 396 refills. If we times that with 40, that's about 15,000 gems. And again, if we apply that value back to our individual price calculator, we're talking, again, if we round that then back to what we price it in the pack offer calculator, it's around about $237 if you were to do it in Dungeon Divers, which I would say is probably cheaper than the 22 sacreds you need to do, which is because 22 sacred is going to be around about $440. So you're better off just buying gems and energy if the packs come up, if I'm being honest, and just running dungeons, because at least you get gear. You could do the ×3 dragon speed, for example. 51,000 sounds like a really scary amount, but actually when you boil it down to the way that the price pack offerings come through and the way that different things match up, that's probably cheaper than summoning champions, you know, because it would just be too expensive. I mean, even if we were to say you did it with void shards instead, then we're probably talking somewhere in the region of like $2.5 at best. So we're saying that's voids is cheaper at 335. Ancients would be around about 1.5 to 1. So we're saying that would be around about $500. So it is cheaper to run Dungeon Divers if you can do it. Now, it's a lot of runs. We're talking 3,221 runs. So the biggest question isn't so much, is it cheaper? It's, do you have a team fast enough that can basically clear 3,000 runs in the 3 or 4 days the hero path is open? That's the other challenge. You know, I don't even know if it's fully possible to do 9,000 runs in the time that it would take. Basically, it's cheaper to do it Dungeon Divers, but I don't think time would allow it. So you're going to have to offset it with summon in some way. So they really want you to summon, and these are the costs. So I will put this Google sheet into the description of this video, as I always do. I will cover Xena the Warrior Princess in a separate video, because this video would just be too long. Yeah, I guess just let me know what you think, guys. Like, from the hero's path, I know a lot of people are very unhappy about the price point, but for me, the biggest sticking point was just how terrible of a feature it is. Let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you think? Are you actually happy with that price point? I do feel like the price point could have been higher. I was wondering yesterday if it was going to be $50, $60, $70, considering what they normally price it at. If you think the Mythic Champions were priced at like $8 a shard, which is crazy. So at $40, it's actually cheaper than I thought it could have been. But I am disappointed by all the other rewards and the actual concept and the way that the pass works. In terms of the path, you're going to have to summon something. If you really, really want Lady Mikage, she is a decent mythic, then, you know, it's probably, these guaranteed events are pretty good, but it depends on if you have the shards. It will cost you a lot of money. Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think of all these events? I really hope we get some content soon, because I don't think we can actually handle more updates where we just get, hey, here's like 8 new champions and a new Forge Pass you have to buy. It's just not enough. We need something new in the game, something to freshen it up a little bit, because it is getting a little bit stale. But there we go, guys. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next video.